And he runs across the back. You see him through the glass back there, come over to the right. Then he comes over to the edge of the building and he lowers off the edge of the building and he puts his feet into that little window and then jumps the rest of the way. So what he jumped is very reasonable. It's barely double his height.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you. Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 367. I'm talking to Kaecey Rasmussen of the They Both Suck podcast. Kaecey, Utah, and he's familiar with the area where Charlie Kirk was shot, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. I brought it up here on Google Maps. Kaecey showed me where the link is. We can see where this place is. I suspect a lot of people. How are you, Kaecey?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. This is an interesting topic to cover because a lot of people still believe it was like 200 yards, still believe a lot of information that is not necessarily accurate around the whole situation with Charlie Kirk at UVU.
I do like to start off with this. How did you get into libertarianism?
I've been mostly a libertarian practically until I got involved in politics. Since I got involved in politics. My family is very engaged and involved, and they pushed me to get involved early on, more from a Republican, strong, conservative type of view. So I usually lean more right libertarian. But yeah, I got into it from following Ron Paul and really getting to understand the teachings of what he is explaining about the Constitution and then diving in more. And that's what led me to where I'm at today.
So anyway, I don't think there we go. So anyway, so you've been in Utah for how long?
39 years.
Oh, so that's basically your whole life then?
Yes, sir.
So you know this area.
Yep.
And a lot of people out there have probably never even heard of Utah Valley University, but it's over 40,000 students. In fact, it's the largest public university in the state, from what I'm reading.
Yeah, that's because if you don't get into the big schools, Utah, University of Utah, BYU, the third one is Utah State. If you don't get into the top two, and you don't want to travel way north to Utah State, UVU is where you go, or you go to a really small community college.
What about Weber? What about Weber? Weber State's also there, right?
Weber is. I would say more people would favor going to UVU over Weber.
Okay, yeah,
because it's mostly because of location. Okay. Weber is so far north in Utah. Like I am closer to UVU personally where I live than I am University of Utah, but I am in the same county as University of Utah or downtown Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to location, Weber and everything way up north, most of these people want to be down here in Salt Lake County or Utah County. And that's where these two fall.
That's wild. There's a Utah County in Utah. That's
correct. And that's actually where UVU is in Utah County.
Yeah, and so and Salt Lake is and so many people in Utah live up in this northern part around Salt Lake. Provo is south of Salt Lake City. Ogden is north of Salt Lake City, and then Logan's way up north. And I mean, most of the people who live in Utah live around this area. And then you got these other parts of Utah that are just very sparsely populated. So anyway.
Yeah, so Salt Lake County has about 1/3 of the population of the entire state.
Yeah.
Utah County is our second biggest county, and it's close. It challenges Salt Lake in a little bit, but most of the people live within Utah and Salt Lake County.
Yeah, and this school's only been around since the 1940s, so it's really not that old a school. I suspect a lot of people never even heard of this school, but anyway.
Right.
So let's get on here, and so So we're gonna zoom in here. So this is the and if you're on just listening, you won't be able to see this, but we've got this little kind of an amphitheater here with a sort of looks like a pentagon shaped. You got the west side's the back of the stage, and then it kind of looks like a little house. Two walls going up, and then the peak. Five
Yep.
sides. And so Charlie was on stage here,
Mm-hmm.
and zooming out a little bit, he was shot. Where was the shooter? He was on top of a building here.
So
So
right where your cursor was, you see where it says level 1 right
yeah,
there?
that building
It
there.
wasn't right there, but if you go up a little bit and to the right, just above that, that is the very peak of the roof. So right there, then right there, if
Yeah.
you were to go down and a little to the left, that is where the shooter was at, where he fired the shot. Correct.
What's the name of that building?
I don't know the name of that building. It says UVU Career Development Center in maps. I know a lot of the other buildings around it, like straight across that white roof, is where most of the cafeteria is. The building to the what would that be? Southeast of that is the
Yes.
automotive building. I'm not quite sure what that building is that they got on that Tyler Robinson got onto.
Yeah. I don't want to speculate. Are we still absolutely positively sure that he was the one who shot him? I mean, these are
Oh,
so. There's a lot
we
of
don't
things go on with this. I mean, he's the prime suspect, but you
we
never
don't
know.
have him
Long
publicly
distance
saying
shoots.
we don't have him publicly saying he did it,
Yeah.
but several people admit that he admitted to them that he did it. Now,
Yes.
we'll see what comes out in court. That is the right to every American in this country, right? And so a right to a
Exactly.
fair and speedy trial, which I think we'll get to in a little bit about the text messages maybe. Because I have some concerns there, but yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna have to look at the evidence that comes out in court around this.
Oh, that building is called the Lossey Center. Lossee.
Wassy,
Uh,
okay,
yeah. I assume it's been named after somebody. That's
probably
usually how that goes.
right,
Either somebody who gave them money or somebody who worked for the college.
right,
Um, so that's the building you meant.
yep.
So, and this guy we know fired only one shot.
You're asking, did he fire only one? Like,
Yeah.
was he
What do you
intending
think
to
that
only
was
do
his
one shot?
plan, or do you think he really believed he'd shot him, or do you think he thought he could only get away with one shot, so he had to get away as soon as possible?
I think he was confident in his shot because he used a bolt action rifle instead of something else, and he only intended one shot. Uh, Most of the time in a setting like that with a bolt action rifle, you will not fire multiple shots. You could, like you easily
Yeah.
can, but clearly he got away far enough to where they couldn't even really identify him fast enough before he got home, which is 4 hours away from the school. And so it clearly he was one shot and done, and he used the rifle for that, also with the accuracy. The other thing that I've been calling out is most people with a semi-automatic rifle rarely fire one bullet. It will always be multiple. And I give the example of when you pick up a power drill, how many times do you pull the trigger on a power drill? Everybody naturally picks it up and goes and pulls it twice. It's just what happens. I don't know why. It's humans just seem to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I mean, so you know something about guns here. What can you tell us about this particular gun that we believe was used for the shooting?
Well, they say it's a Mauser M98. I questioned it at the beginning. Mauser M98 is the one that they are saying is used as more of a German style gun. I questioned it, but after talking to a few friends and some guys that are way into guns more than me, they outlined on the back of the bolt there is a tab. It's hard to see in their grainy photos. This is another thing I keep calling out. It's 2025. We can never have evidence that's perfectly clean picture like I take with my cell phone. Like My pictures are crisp. Why in the world, in all of these scenarios, do we keep getting some grainy photo or video? But in this, with the gun, the bolt on the back has a tab on the back that flips up when the safety is on, and it's in the middle of your iron sights. Yes, this guy had a scope on his, but it flips up. And so with knowledge of that, and you look at the picture, you can kind of see that tab that's there that would normally flip up if the safety was on. And so I do believe it's an Mauser M98, which would be more of a 30-06 round that was fired.
Yeah, and if we go, say, over here to this part, and we
The great example on how you can get the distance, you won't be able to go. Yeah, you can try, see if it will do that.
yeah,
I don't know if it will.
but we're looking at maybe about, well, looks about like maybe 200 feet here.
Yeah, I would say max. I would say it's probably 300 feet, which would be 100 yards, right? But it's probably maximum 130. And where I get that, if you kept that same zoom level, well, you'd probably have to zoom in a little bit more, but then you compare it.
Oh. Okay, this says 410.59 feet.
That must be involving so 410, what would that be?
Well, it made it a straight line, and I was going onto the roof here, you know.
Right, but I wonder if that is that, so 410 divided by 3.
Well, we're
136
probably going, I mean,
136
probably
yards.
giving us the distance on the ground. So obviously,
Well,
you know,
136 yards is not unreasonable. I'm gonna tell you that 410 is probably okay. I wouldn't disagree with it. I was
yeah,
just coming up
100,
with
well,
the number.
400 would be 133.3 yards. Yeah.
Right.
So
So
that's about what we're dealing with. And also I'm assuming that's distance on the ground. Obviously you factor in the height a little bit. It's going to make it a little bit longer, you know, because you
right,
know you're thinking, you know, you're because the ground is just the bottom of the
elevation.
triangle and really, you know, his shot was the hypotenuse. So the question, you know, the interesting question is, you know, do we know how he got up there?
Yes, I can show you. So if you go, just go a little bit more to your right, on Google Maps, and then you see those big red squares down um,
You know, there's insurance liability and stuff like that. They don't just want any, you know, they don't want people going up because roofs are, you know, supposed to be dangerous. I mean, you
uh,
know, they
I can show you exactly how he got on the roof. It's super simple. You see
yeah.
those red squares on the ground there that you see
Yes,
in
those
the.
red squares. Yeah.
Yep. So just scroll just a little bit to the right on Google Maps, and
Okay.
then you'll be able to see how he gets on the roof. See those red squares off to the right?
Yes.
And that is a walking area that is flush with the roof. The only thing that is different between that
Oh,
walking area where those red squares are and that roof is there's a handrail that separates it that's 3.5 feet, 4 feet tall. So you can just jump over it and you're on the roof of the building.
so okay. So the buildings. So this building is kind of built into a hillside.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not super hilly where this is at, but the elevation right there does gain. You can even see on that second red square off to the bottom of it and to the right, that's a stair. Those are stairs.
Yeah.
That's how you get up to that level. So the
Okay.
red second red square, and then you see the little, concrete that comes off the bottom of it. That's a stairwell that you go up and down.
Yeah, there's stairways. Yeah. Okay. So we'll zoom in a little bit more here.
Yep,
Yeah.
keep
There's
going over, keep going over. Right there, off to the right, those are stairs right there.
yep, those are stairs. All right. Yes, those are.
And then that
I'm
is
gonna
how you
zoom
get
on
up to
these.
there, and then you just hop that little handrail. You can see the little shadow on Google Maps, and you're on the roof.
So this, yeah. So that's
By the way, that stairwell and that stairwell is still functioning today, but that
yeah.
last square closest to that rooftop is now taped off, and it has a security camera in the middle of it now.
Yeah.
That did not exist prior.
Well, one thing I suppose one thing they might do, you know, you mentioned, you know, you have a little railing that they'll probably maybe put a higher fence up or something because that a general rule though, when I worked at Whole Foods corporate, we actually went on the roof a few times to do some HVAC stuff. But generally, buildings, whether it be office building or whatever, they don't just want anybody to be able to go onto the roof. It's just,
Nope.
there's insurance liability. Somebody
Right.
falls and they sue the owner of the building. Hey, I fell off your roof. I mean, roofs are often slippery and they're often hotter than hell too. I mean, the only people that are supposed to be on roofs are people, who are, approved to be up there. So it is kind of interesting that this guy was able to get onto this roof, but you've answered that question for us as to why that just about anybody could get on this roof.
Yep. Yep.
Students probably go up there and have sex or something like that, I bet. So
Who knows? But they've been getting up there. And the thing that's crazy is, like I said, that first square right at the stairs, you can't cross it anymore. It's got it's got tape across it, and then it's got a security camera right in the middle of that square. But they never talked about this publicly. They never addressed how he got on the roof or anything, or what the school is going to do. Even here locally, nothing has been said on how they are addressing this situation to make sure it doesn't happen. But right now, you go up on that stairwell, you turn to the left to that one red square right there, and there's a security camera and it's taped off.
Security camera, yeah. It's and this gray top here, that's just part of the roof, and this is part of the roof too. Yeah. So
Yep.
It's
Yeah. And so that roof on the right in the gravel is more gravel, is why it's lighter color. And so that I think I pointed to the darker gray peak. It's actually this gravel peak on where he was at. So the corner right there where your cursor is, that is where he was at. And the FBI photos, when they show you the angle of where the shot was taken, how you know what that is, if you zoom in just a little bit, you'll see that's a straight line, and then barely the peak of that white building is right in the vision. But in the photo the FBI released, you can tell it's a straight shot, barely misses the peak of the white building where the cafeteria is, right down to where he was sitting.
Okay, now this says it's 484.61 feet. So that's
right, which wouldn't change it a whole lot because we're still talking about yards, right? So 484 divided by 3, that comes out to 161 feet max. And we don't know if that's taking into consideration elevation or not. But it's a lot shorter than what people are saying. And how I put this together is to the left on the screen, and then a little bit up, you can see the soccer field. You compare it to that.
Zoom's 100 times zoom, or
no, I would just stay right where you're at. And then you go over to look at the soccer field, and you kind of compare it to that distance there, and it is about the same of what that soccer field is.
The soccer field's over here on the left.
Yep, go left and then up a little bit, and you'll see it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, see it. It's all the way over to the left. Up.
Okay, here's this is
that's the soccer field.
There's a baseball stadium. Yeah, so this is where we are, and so and this looks like the amphitheater where they have a lot of these events. And obviously, there really wasn't anything in the way.
Nope.
I guess it was a pretty clear day when this happened, or was it foggy or cloudy?
No, it wasn't cloudy. It was a blue sky day, which is kind of rare for this time of year. We end up seeing a lot more clouds, but it was a good day.
Yeah. So he was out there, and what was the weather like about? Was it, 70s, 80s?
I don't know specifically on that day because I was mostly inside working, but our average temperatures around this time of year is 70s, and so it was somewhere in there, 70s to 80s.
Isn't this also about 3,000 or 4,000 feet above sea level too? I mean, this is a fairly not
that
quite
area is probably around 4,000, maybe 4,500. My house is different. There's a lot of variance in elevation, but that area is probably around 4,000.
Yeah. Is this so? What do you think was Charlie's? What do you think? Charlie just happened to pick this place to go, or what do you think was his? Think he had any reason for picking this particular place, or they invited him, or would you say this is a fair? are the schools in Utah fairly lefty? Or are they fairly conservative? I don't know. What can you tell us about Utah Valley University?
UVU would be more red than necessarily blue.
Yeah.
But that's just UVU. BYU is turning more liberal. That is also in Utah County. That is actually just
Yes.
east of this building, this campus. BYU is just east, a few minutes. University of Utah is predominantly more liberal, but that's because of the political landscape here in Utah. Political landscape here is starting to transition more liberal views than what we have been. And like, for example, we're starting to see the difference. For example, Mitt Romney is a Republican registered, right? But a lot of his decisions don't fall there. And that's where a lot of people are starting to have their views changed a little bit. But UVU is the small enough school that they also have a open carry policy that you can openly carry on the campus, which is rare. That's where if you wanted to put on your conspiracy theory hat, there could be some things going on with why it was chosen that way. But
Yeah.
why he would be there is probably just convenience. He's going to be at Utah State University on Tuesday, which I'll be there, and he won't be there. Excuse me. Turning Point will be there on Tuesday.
Yeah.
They have another event there, and he's probably just going around and doing the different schools in Utah as he can schedule them. Nothing other
Well,
than that.
yeah. I didn't know he kind of goes on tour like a rock star. I guess that's what it
Yes,
sounds
he
like.
does.
And
Yep.
his wife and his kids were there, and uh, so, and some of these schools are more quiet, but some of them are much more active. Or is this a pretty active school, or is it a pretty quiet school where you don't really hear about much going on here? I mean, are they demonstrating on the lawn or out protesting or not?
This is kind of just a middle ground school. Like there's not a whole lot of stuff that goes on here. Um, you don't even see much. Utah's culture in general, the state of Utah doesn't have a big protest culture. Like
Yeah,
they'll put on events, they'll do things, but it's nothing like what you see in other states. Like I've seen them in Vegas, I've seen them in Florida. They don't compare. Like Utah doesn't even show up in relevance and size compared to these others. Um, but as a UVU school, I would say no. I haven't seen any um, kind of protests that we've seen over the last couple of years that we see at most schools, universities. We don't see that out of UVU, let alone even the other big schools.
yeah, that's certainly the case. I mean, I had Ed Hofer on, and he talked about, and the Mormons had been recruiting in Germany, and he talked about how the Mormons were basically tolerated by the communists because they're just so go along to get along that the communists didn't care.
It
They
is
don't
a little
complain, they
bit of
don't
their
protest,
culture.
they just accept things the way they are. So
They do.
yeah,
But they do that. It's a good and a bad thing, to be
yeah,
honest.
it's
Um,
good and bad. Yeah, that's true.
because they put so much faith in the Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ that that's where they say wherever that's going to guide me, right? That's going to be the path no matter what. And so that's the good side is they're just trusting their faith to guide them in the right direction. But
Yeah,
the bad side is it does get you involved with some, and you don't question your involvement with some people. For example, Mitt Romney. Everybody voted for Mitt Romney in Utah because he was Mormon. They didn't even look into his politics. Just because he was Mormon, that's why they voted for him.
well, also, who did very well in 2016, as we jokingly called him, Egg McMuffin.
Yeah, he is
Evan
a
McMullen.
special
Yes, that's
individual.
yeah. That's what Justin Raimondo called him. Yes.
Yeah, man, and the thing that's sad is we're redrawing our district maps right now, and it might make him come back to where he has some relevance again, but we're gonna find out.
Yeah.
With us redrawing these district maps, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. What's the general what's UVU mostly known for? I mean, why do what's the typical UVU major? I mean, what kind of student goes there?
I can't say specifically on some of that. I don't
Yeah.
know a whole lot about the university in itself on the students that go there, but a lot my perspective, a lot of the students, if you can't get into Utah or BYU
Yeah.
and you don't want to go way up north, you go to UVU is
Yeah.
usually what happens.
It's probably mostly Utah students, and it is a public school, so
Mhm.
the tuition is certainly substantially cheaper than for in-state than out of
Correct.
state. Uh,
Very.
I've heard that academically BYU is pretty rigorous, but I don't know about the others.
Very. Yeah, BYU is very. U of U, I would say, is challenging there, but it's probably not as difficult as BYU. U of U, Utah, University of Utah is what I'm referring to, and
Yeah.
that I would say overall is the bigger school in our state out of the two.
Yes, and all those other schools are public, but BYU, of course, is private. I believe BYU is the only
Yeah.
private one, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So okay. And we know that what are some what have you what is some of the I always tell people go local. What have they said on some of the local news coverage about this? How are the local news people covering it? Because that's always, if you want to know about this, go to the local TV stations, because like you, they know the area, they know. And in this case, these would be stations out of Provo. What are they saying about it? What's the general reaction to this in the area?
Well, that's the thing. Utah is still small. Like Utah is very small. So when you say the locations are out of Provo, they're actually not. It's still the same Salt Lake City locations.
Yeah, but I
We
mean
have
the
not
TV
became a
stations
big
are
enough
licensed in
state
Provo,
to
but
where
yeah.
that's up. What was that?
I mean, there are TV stations in Provo and TV stations in Salt Lake City, though. So
No, actually they follow all the same broadcasts and come from the
okay.
same towers. We're not that big yet. We
Yeah,
grew to where we have this ever since we had the Olympics in 2002. We grew, but we have never like got that big to where Provo outputs their own channels. They don't.
okay.
They have the call tags and call signals for all of those things, but it still is Salt Lake City broadcast, even though it's Provo. Same with St. George, which is all the way down to where the kid lived. His parents lived, which is in Washington, Utah, just north of St. George. And that's an hour and a half from Vegas in Nevada. And so they still get the Salt Lake City feed. That's where Utah has not really grown like that yet. And so I would say when we talk about things and say in the sense of what does the feel like? Everybody still thinks everything's super small. Like they went
Yeah,
down to Washington County and was like, "Hey, what was this kid like growing up in this neighborhood?" And everybody's like, "It was just typical Utah kid." And the other thing that's
yeah,
weird, everybody's like saying he's some rich kid because his family and they live in some $600,000 home. $600,000 home is kind of your upper middle class in Utah. It's not some rich kid. It's just
yeah,
the upper middle class. And
yeah,
Utah's middle household income is like astronomical compared to a lot of states. And so
yeah,
that's where things look different. But ultimately, we still act very small as a state. Like it's really neighborly. And so it is interesting to see this happen because I think we're going to see some developments and changes in
yeah.
just the way the state behaves and approaches things like this.
Yeah, and St. George, of course, is on Interstate 15, and it's down. Interstate 15 goes to Las Vegas. It's really
Correct.
closer to Las Vegas than it is to Salt Lake City. And
Yep.
I know, it wasn't that long ago. Also, that Utah was all 801,
Yep.
and then they created the new area codes, and
Yeah, it wasn't long ago. So we had
yeah,
mostly 2 area codes
and
for
then they got
most of
three
our
area
life.
codes. Yeah,
Yeah, and we had 801 and 435, and then
yeah,
just recently in the last, I would say 5-7 years, we came up with 385.
Yeah,
As
385 overlaid 801. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what usually happens, the city gets the old area code, but the rest of the state gets the new area code.
Right.
So 801 covered the more metro areas before 35. And then they had an overlay, yeah. So and 801 was the original one. Yeah, Utah's still. I mean, what you talked about congressional? How many congressional districts are in Utah now? Is it 3 or 4? Or?
5?
Okay.
I want to say 5. Hang on. No, 4 districts. 4.
Okay.
So you'll have most eastern side of the state and the western side of the state. You'll have a little one in the middle that kind of breaks up Salt Lake County, and then the northern part of Utah.
Okay. Yeah. So
that's generally how they've drawn it. Of course, right now we're going through a new drawing of our districts, but
yeah, I really have a lot of issues with this mid-census redistricting. They did it in Texas too. How much can you mess around with a state that only has 4 districts? Though I don't know what all you can really do if you want to play around. I suppose you can play around, but
it's how they divide up Salt Lake County. That's it.
Okay.
Because, like I said, 1/3 of the population of the entire state is in Salt Lake County, and so it depends on how you want to divide that up and have all 4 of those districts line up. That's where it gets iffy, and like if you live on the west side of Salt Lake County, maybe the north side of Salt Lake County, or the east side, it can all be different. The south side shouldn't change too much, but those 3 areas are where you're going to see wherever they put that dividing line. And Utah and Salt Lake County definitely has a east-west vibe to it. Like you go out to the west side, that's a little bit more of the northwest side, you're going to run into the lower middle class, and you start moving east, you get to middle class, and then you get to the other higher class.
Salt Lake County is 1.1 million. Yeah, that's one thing. I being from West Virginia, they have 55 counties. But one thing I remember when they would draw the congressional districts is they would never divide a county. They would always just divide it on the county line. So
that's what it should be.
Yeah. Well, some of these counties are so big, but but what they probably had to do is divide up some of these big counties. That's what they used to do is they just divide up a county, but they don't seem to want to do that anymore. And generally, I've noticed in the West, there's a lot less counties in the West, period, because they just don't seem to. It seems like they just let them be much bigger. It's like,
well, your population is not as diverse across land, right? And
true.
You got to go over with the history of America that everybody is so dense over there because that's how we came in. But as we spread out west, of course, it's going to get thinner. Like that's the same reason why we have 85-mile-an-hour speed limits in rural counties. Like you can go from northern Utah to southern Utah pretty fast.
Oh yeah. But it's just interesting that Texas has 254 counties.
Well, Texas is enormous.
But California only has 58 counties.
Yeah. Unfair.
Why does it? If you're going by population, California should have more counties than Texas. Really, but they don't.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's kind of how it's divided up. So you've got lots of people in Salt Lake County, and I guess Salt Lake City probably is more of the lefty place in Utah, isn't it? Or that seems to be the case.
Yep. And also the eastern side of the county is becoming more and more of that. Like COVID was very eye-opening to go onto the eastern side of the valley, and then you would start to see, wait a minute, they're pushing the vaccine thing and they're pushing the whole mask thing. But you come back onto the west side of the valley, and it's not really as much of a thing.
Yeah. Salt Lake County is 1,216,000, and then there's a 747,000 in Utah County, 378 in Davis, and then
out of 3.5 million in Utah entirely.
But then you go down here, Daggett 956, Pute 1534, Wayne 2608. Yeah, A lot of state, yeah. It's you got the one city and that's it. So,
Yep.
uh, so that's one thing. They also said it sounds like his. This is something I do want to bring up. His father was a police officer, apparently, right?
I don't believe his father was. He has a family member that was a retired officer that was the pastor that he turned himself into.
Okay.
The early reports said his father was a retired officer, da 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 da, all of that stuff. Even Washington County police department had to come out and say no, he had no run with Washington
Yeah.
County.
No run with Washington County. Yes. So that's wild. Yeah. There's no. It's
There was a lot of conspiracies and a lot of lies and manipulation, unfortunately, after this event. It was,
yeah.
in my opinion, very disappointing.
It's not surprising. What are some of the worst lies you've heard so far?
Well, it's a lot of the stuff around this. Like they couldn't they kept trying to stretch the truth. For example, this is one of the beefs I had with the way the whole thing was ran, and it's my governor, which is a piece of garbage in my opinion. Um, but I, why are we saying to everybody, and this isn't a conspiracy, this is my beef with how the government handled it, and then I'll get into what some of the lies. I This is what's kind of set the precedent though, is they were talking about his roommate, but when you read the text messages they released, I questioned some of the text messages and mostly all of them. It's just we don't have a whole lot of facts with it. But overall, they keep saying roommate, but when you say in the text message, my love, that is not a roommate. That is someone that's in a relationship with another individual. You can't be saying roommate when these two guys were in a romantic relationship. And so I believe at the beginning we started setting the wrong precedent from the government level, saying the information and it was actually false. It's misleading.
Yeah, there seems to be. Is there anything else that you think wasn't quite accurate here? I mean,
Well, and it's just what they were pushing around that. I struggled to believe. I struggled at the beginning with the rifle, but after talking with some friends, I understand it and I see it. Um, the other narrative is just I want to know more of the text messages and the motive,
yeah,
but we can't know that right now. Because if we know that information in the public right now before even this individual sits in trial, we're removing their right to a fair and speedy trial because you're already swaying the jury that is the pool that will be selected for a jury. So you can't release all of this information right now. So we have to be patient. And
yeah,
so that's my struggle with it. But a lot of people are saying other lies, like there were multiple shooters or Erica intentionally had him killed and those type of things, which is no way. Like, there's no way any of that could even make any sense. It's
yeah.
just people are doing that for clicks.
Could there be, is it could have somebody have shot him from another location, or is this really the only place somebody could have shot him from?
There could have been another shot from somewhere else, but I don't see that they would have been able to get away.
Yeah. So, but then that's one thing too, is from the way this building's set up, this really is also set up for an easy getaway. If he can
Very
get, he doesn't have to jump off the building or climb down a ladder.
well. He
And
did jump off the building, but the thing
yeah,
is like we talked about at the beginning, is we are kind of on a hillside, right? So
yeah,
the back end of the building is only 10, 15 feet off the ground when where he was sitting at the top of the roof looking out at where Charlie Kirk was sitting, that
yeah.
is like 50 feet down. Like,
Okay,
well, 50 is probably extreme. It's
okay.
probably more like 30, 40 feet, which is significantly more than where he jumped down because it's going down the hillside.
10 feet is still a fairly substantial jump. I don't know. I mean, a lot of us.
For someone that's 20, that's young and stuff, right? At 10 feet, if you consider that that's double their height just to jump, that's reasonable.
Yeah. Well, I've never tried jumping that high, so I don't really know.
I've had my fair share of jumping over things and jumping off things.
But but for example, you might see little kids jump that high. I mean, a little kid who's 2 foot high might jump 5 or 6 feet.
Yep.
It really, yeah, and you're landing on ground, so that
And grass.
on grass, yeah. I mean, perhaps even maybe there's a bush there or something like that.
Oh, it was straight grass where he landed. But the thing is that overall, what he was doing, didn't even jump the entire height of the building. He had a little window he crawled down. Like the video was released by the FBI. You can see it. He puts his hands down, lowers down to the edge of a window, and then jumps from there. So maybe the jump's 8 to 9 feet instead of the whole height of the building, which would probably be closer to 12.
Do we have that video somewhere? I haven't seen that video.
Yeah, I can. If you want me to pull it up, let me.
Yeah, pull it up. Yeah, we can show it. Yeah, I mean that's pretty wild though. And so, do we know where he went after that?
Yeah, so he went back to his car, and he ran back because it is on some surveillance footage that was released. Yeah. And so,
that's one thing about college campuses. Usually, it's not always that easy to park a car or get to a car. You might have to park, a long way away from where you, especially if you're not a student. You can't just. Of course, if you're only going to be there 10 or 15 minutes, nobody's going to care. But
yeah. When it comes down to here, I'm sharing the screen there. You'll have to approve it. But this is the footage released by the FBI, and this is one of the cameras at the back of the parking lot of UVU. You can see the gravel roof there, right?
Yeah.
And so let's go ahead and play this.
Yeah, we'll play it. Yeah.
And then he runs across the back. You see him through the glass back there, come over to the right. Then he comes over to the edge of the building, and he lowers off the edge of the building, and he puts his feet into that little window and then jumps the rest of the way. So what he jumped is very reasonable. It's barely double his height. You can tell that right there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And then he goes running. They keep replaying this. I don't know why they made this video so choppy like that. But let me get to the one that he runs.
I don't. One thing I got to say too is you got to remember there's a lot of keeping 24/7 cameras going. This requires a lot of file space, a lot of usage. So I don't know. I don't know.
That doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, maybe for example, they've got like 15 frames per second or something like that. I mean, I'm just saying it takes a lot of file space to store this, and
not really, because you got to think this big of an incident.
Yeah,
you're pulling it same day within a few hours.
True.
Of it happening.
Yeah.
So there's no question on it. Was there enough storage space? Was there enough of this? We're not trying to capture someone breaking a window over a couple days or a weekend, right? We know when this occurred, and it just happened. There is no excuse on why. And the reason why I'm speaking firmly on this is there's no excuse on why we got this 1 minute, 39-second video when it doesn't even show him getting on the roof, how long it took him to get set up, and how long all of that. They only show after he took the shot and ran away. They don't show the full clip, because if you were to go back here in that all the way up, you can see right here, that's him running right there. And he was set up right here. And so with him being set up there, you can clearly see it by this camera. Why don't we have all of that footage? And there's footage of showing a guy on the roof before any of this happened. And it's not AI or anything. It is legitimate. A guy that is in the parking lot that was confused. Why is there a guy on the roof? Like, look, I'll play that video next.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think maybe?
So right here, you can see. That's Sparks Automotive off to the right. Let me go back. Sparks Automotive. You can kind of see it. It's blurry.
Already been placed.
This is the very front where he is sitting all postured, like laying down. This video is already out there. The FBI never released it. This was posted by just somebody at UVU that day. And this is before the shot took place. And how we know this.
So there's somebody on the roof right there?
you see how calmly everybody is
Where's my
walking
finger?
around at the end of the video
From
right
over there,
as he
ran
pans
in.
down right here.
Now he's
Yeah.
right there.
Oh,
Just saying.
right there.
Getting right up.
None of
And
them were running
Just
or
saying.
anything.
Just
See that? They're all just there. None of them look scared, panicked. They're just walking.
Yeah. Well, the people down below probably don't even know he's there.
Right. But what I'm pointing out is this is before the shot even took place.
Yeah.
So
And as
he
you can
was
see also-
sitting up there. Why
as we
don't
can see
we have
also-
that footage? Why don't we have that from the CCTV
Yeah.
cameras? Why don't we get
I
it?
agree. Also, and we can see the name of the building right there, the
Yeah.
Lossy Center. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, that's a good question. It's like they're withholding some of this stuff on purpose.
Yeah, correct.
It seems to be that case, you know, and I don't know about you, but you know, I used to work, you know, do server work. So I had access to this stuff. And like if I was an IT guy at UVU, you better believe I would leak something like this. I mean, I would do what I can to make it discreet and say, hey, I got footage here, and give it to somebody and just say, hey, you want? I mean, there's a way you could leak it anonymously, like send it to a reporter or something like that. Yeah, just to, yeah. There's a lot of good questions. One thing I've learned is people generally don't look up. So you know, you can be on a roof of a building and people notice, but yeah, they are acting rather nonchalantly. And the fact that he's lying down ought to show you also, if he's lying down, he doesn't want to be seen.
Right.
Because if somebody is walking around on top of a building, I'd say, well, they're not trying. He's trying not to be seen, but you can still see him there because there's that little lump there. And you can tell something's there that doesn't belong there. And those guys are even saying, why is there a roof on there? And that was what, maybe that I didn't see a timestamp on it, but how was that, like 5 seconds or 2 minutes before the shooting? Or
I couldn't get that. The guy that posted it kind of just went silent. He didn't really reply after he posted this video. I immediately downloaded it after it was posted.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we don't have the context there, but
yeah,
that's where I want the CCTV cameras. Like you can see from that other angle that we just showed, the first one, we should have been able to see from that camera how long he was there and how long that was done, because that was cut up. That was not shown. Another thing that's not being talked about UVU on a national level for this day, it's going around locally, like here, but nationally, no one's talking about. There was only 6 officers on duty for UVU having a 3,000 person event is what this was scoped for. 6 officers is not enough to control 3,000 people.
That's 1 per 500. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to, there's not, especially an event where you think something like this could happen. There is one possibility too, and this is another thing too, is maybe some security guy's trying to cover his ass. You know, he's screwed up and he wants to cover up the fact that he's screwed up. That's another distinct possibility. I mean, we've all done that on our job. Sometimes we mess something up and we don't want people to know that we messed up. So we try to hide the evidence of our screw up, and maybe we end up not getting, a reprimand or something. Because
I agree.
Yeah.
We don't know. And the secret, how this whole thing is being handled is weird. The text messages that were released, they just seem like they were typed up in Word, translating from a phone, but then randomly in between messages exchanged between Robinson and the roommate, you have 3 dots, like they're indicating they removed messages from you to be able to see them.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, like why don't we just get the full conversation?
Yeah, I don't know that either. Yeah, there's so much weird stuff going on. Yeah.
The main part that I see with this, on what I believe they're trying to withhold, was trying to keep this as any sort of trans violence. They were trying to keep it away from that. And that's because my governor is a huge trans and pronoun supporter. He's a big guy that supports all of that, even though he's a Republican. And so with him, that's his stance, and he would do something like this. He would try to withhold that to try to manipulate people to be keeping this under the wraps. Like I mentioned before, they said roommate when really, no, they were in a relationship together. Why are you saying roommate? Just say partner. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
Lover. I mean, well, you can be lovers and not be roommates, and
Right.
you can be roommates and not be lovers. So, uh, it's yeah. The other thing I'd like to know is who's doing most of the investigation on this. I mean, if I'm the local sheriff or whatever, I'd just say, look, I'm investigating this on my own because I wouldn't, I wouldn't trust the feds, but the feds are going to be involved, and who knows? If I was a local sheriff, I would definitely conduct my own investigation. I don't even know if I'd share anything with the feds. I would do it all on my own. But obviously, different people are going to find different things too.
Yeah. The big
What has
thing
local
about
law enforcement said about this?
the investigation is not being very transparent on who's doing what. So we don't know. And it sucks, but I only have my conspiracy brain on me, and
Yeah.
I really disagree with the way my governor does things, and so it really makes me think that this is not being done in a very open and honest way.
And that just invites conspiracy theories, though, if your lack of
Right.
transparency. And I guess you can't really release everything, but especially if you're,
No, you can't. And you are correct. And
yeah,
because that's where I also have issues with the text messages being released right now is you're swaying a jury. It's very difficult to give this man his Fifth Amendment right. And I believe you're swaying a jury by doing it this early. This person isn't a American citizen. They deserve their Fifth Amendment and to be held to have it and utilize it within court. And releasing text messages before court, you are swaying a jury. And I don't think we should have done that. However, we could be more straightforward. Hey, yeah, this person, because there was rumors, this person did have a relationship with a same sex. That's fine. Just admit it. Don't try to brush it under like it didn't happen or it's nothing, right? Because there were talks about it. You didn't even acknowledge it. You just tried to slide it under the rug. Not to mention, it was weird that the first night they had the press conference on what was it, the 10th? Yeah, the press
he was
conference.
shot on the 10th. Yes, one day before
Yeah,
Allende Suicide Day. Yes.
the press conference was held later at night on the 10th around 8 p.m. And then they already knew who this person was because they were going down to that person's house to go and investigate them
Yeah.
that late.
Mhm.
But we're just gonna play the whole thing off like we have no idea. You could have released the photos because you already knew at that point who it was, but you don't release the photos. Like you release them on the 11th. This is where it starts getting weird. Why are you doing that? Um, the sequence of events of this whole thing is weird, but there were also rumors in the mix of it all that Cash Patel wasn't happy with how it was done, and that's why he was coming to Utah. Who knows if that's true or not? I don't know, but I I can say by what I know now, I'm not happy with the investigation, or at least what we got out of it.
Yeah. Did the local sheriff or local chief of police or anybody like that say anything about this?
No, and they've been very mute on this whole thing.
So they're just letting the feds move in and take and do all this work for them. Is that what it sounds like? I mean, that's
Yeah.
never a good sign.
No, it's never a good sign, but I I that's where I want to have a little bit of faith. Now I struggle a little bit with Dan Bongino and Cash Patel. I don't think
Oh
they're
yes.
really doing the stuff that they are claiming right now. I had faith earlier, but I've lost it. Um, but when it comes to my government here in the state of Utah, I don't trust them at all. But there were rumors saying that the investigation wasn't being handled well here in Utah, so they were coming here.
Yeah.
I want to say I believe that, but I still struggle because right now I don't have a whole lot of faith in Cash and Dan anymore.
Well, I don't think I have much faith in anybody in Trump's cabinet, but but I never voted for him. So what about the coroner and the autopsy? I mean, that's definitely something that's still handled at the county level. I mean,
Sure.
you got to do an autopsy. You got to figure out, what bullet killed him, what exactly happened, all this stuff.
They haven't formally released anything. The only thing we have, and this is to my understanding as of 9:28 at 10 o'clock Mountain Time, but when it comes down to this, like, I question, like, the autopsy. Are we getting the real information? The only information we have is Andrew Colvett, and Andrew Colvett is one of his business partners. I can't remember his title. He released information on X like several days ago, talking about that this is probably a magic bullet scenario, that this bullet was magic and didn't actually go through his neck and exit. That is one weird thing that I have with this situation. The neck is a soft muscle, right? Like, there's not a whole lot into it.
There wasn't. Basically, they're saying the bullet should have went through him, and
yes,
and obviously it would have been slowed down a little bit, but it maybe could have killed some other people. But for some reason, the bullet stopped inside Charlie. I don't know.
Yep,
but
that's what they're phrasing as the magic bullet scenario, is that it magically stopped when it hit the spine or something. But we don't know. An .6 round should blow apart your neck. To be very honest, it should.
Yeah, most people who saw this, most of them were reacting. They were reacting. I think they all were saying, "He's gone."
Oh, I said that instantly with how much, when he was falling out of his chair, and you saw how much blood came out, you knew that hit a main artery or something.
And where it hit him and how it, and you just see how much force. From what I've heard, people are saying that it could have ricocheted off his chest or something like that. Is that true? I mean, if he was wearing body armor, maybe,
the rumors have been going around for a long time that Charlie Kirk has always worn a bulletproof vest at these events. And I don't know if it's true for every event, but he definitely didn't wear one for this event. And so the rumors were, well, it hit the top of the bulletproof vest and ricocheted up.
Okay.
I kind of thought that for a minute. When you look at it and the way the shirt moved, you're like, wait a minute, that moved weird. But it's hard to say. The part that people are trying to reverse engineer is a video recorded at 30 frames per second. You can't turn that into 800 frames per second and make it make sense. It just doesn't work that way with video. So we only get what we have, and it's really hard to tell, but it looks like it's just a straight shot as to what happened with the shirt, wind, and that bullet flying by.
Yeah.
Who knows how your shirt would behave? We don't know.
Yeah. So this is a bullet that usually would go through somebody, but we didn't have an exploding head or something like that. I mean, gosh, It was already, at some angles, I don't know if I've seen all the videos, but it doesn't really look like it's that horrible, but obviously there are probably a lot of different videos of this out here. And, people also said that his little girl actually walked over to him to like say, "Daddy, are you okay?" It's
wow. I haven't seen that.
I mean, this is probably, she's 3 years old. This will probably be her first memory. I can imagine, just the intensity of the emotion involved. How many people were at this event in attendance? So was it 1,000? You said 3,000. That's right. Yeah.
3,000 is what I believe they planned for.
Yeah.
It was probably closer to 2,000 is what was there.
Now this was on a weekday, and we probably had students in classes who maybe wanted to go but couldn't go. But college classes can be all over the place. But and also, do you have any word? Was it a pretty friendly crowd, a hostile crowd, or kind of a mix?
Oh, very friendly. Like, there's videos out there of it before this happened, of Charlie walking out, talking with people, tossing hats. I even, one of the guy that ran against my current governor in the last election, Bill Lyman, was having a conversation with him before he got shot. And there was nothing hostile at all with it.
Any other fairly big Utah people there, or was he the only one? You said Bill Lyman, or anybody else?
Bill Lyman was the big name that I would say was there. Yeah. I don't know of any other big names. A lot of others that are into local politics that I would say big name because of local.
Yeah. But, big names in Utah, but not necessarily big names in the country. But yes,
correct. Bill Lyman you would see it in the primary. Like he ran against the sitting governor.
Yeah.
So people might know that. And he's been on Fox News numerous times and Newsmax and stuff like that. Good guy. I really like Phil Lyman a lot.
Yeah, it's and afterwards, I think they took him to the hospital, and they pronounced him dead at the hospital. So that was, although it came out pretty quickly. So Erica was there, of course, and other things. We've got a 3-year-old girl and a boy who's about 1.5, and neither one of them have their daddy anymore. And it's I think that's why people are we're seeing kind of a JFK reaction here too. And of course, his kids were about that age too when he got shot. So it's
that is true.
Yeah, Kaecey, I gotta say, being a libertarian, I do pay attention to some conservatives, and I certainly knew who Charlie Kirk was, but I'm really amazed. I didn't realize that he'd really touched this many people's lives, but a lot of people really were mourning this.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk was is an icon and now a legend in my mind. Him going around to campuses and talking with students on campuses, there were a lot of people that didn't really know him, but when you actually understood that how many campuses he went around and went and talked to, he touched and talked with thousands and thousands of kids, and was much bigger than a lot of people even realized. Much bigger.
I'd say it sounds like he was much more influential than Ron Paul, or really I don't know anybody in the conservative movement that would be.
Well, I would say Ron Paul would be that popular if he was young and during the big internet era where we're at today.
This is what helps. He's he was still 31. He turns 32 on the 4th. He would have turned 32 on the 14th. He's still 31. So there's probably a lot of college girls who say, "Wow, I want to take Charlie Kirk back to my dorm." Of course, he's married, but and there's a lot, and he can still relate to a lot of the youth. I mean, really, he was doing all of this, and I don't know how many colleges did he visit over the years, because he's, I guess, been doing this since he was 18 or 19.
Correct. He approached the Trump campaign to be able to do it, to represent Trump in his first term, and so he was trying to do this for years, and then he's been doing it the whole time and just been growing at a crazy rate. So I would say, as a number of campuses, we got to be talking thousands at this point. Over
you got all these
years minimum.
Yeah, and it sounds like you got all these various turning point clubs on every campus now, and that's just, I don't know anybody who's ever had anything like that. I mean, they used to talk in the 60s about some of the Ayn Rand clubs, but that it's really he was really making a difference, and I think he just was really doing it by doing the work.
100%. That's one of the things. So when I was on LPA and talking with them, like, there's not anybody on this planet that was more influential in getting involved in politics that is on Earth today. He made more of an impact in our elections and in our political climate in this country than anybody else.
And Kaecey, to his credit, I think he understood that these colleges are the real problem here, and we've got to go after this. And so he went in. He was Daniel going into the lion's den. He went in onto their turf, into their house, and said, "We've got to talk about these things." And look, one thing I realized, you got to realize this about debates. You don't do a debate to convert your opponent. You do a debate because you want to win over the people that are in the middle.
Correct.
And it sounds like that's what he was doing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But he was also doing it, like, there's this huge narrative that everybody was saying that he's pushing this rhetoric that's divisive and all of this. Like, sure, you can clip me. You can clip things that I have said and spin them in certain ways, right? And that's fine. It's the internet. It happens. But ultimately, when you look up Charlie Kirk and you look up his full message of what he's been doing, like, I even posted on my X today a video that I came across of Charlie Kirk talking to a son and his father, the son's father. They are on different political aisles. The son is more conservative, the father is more liberal. And Charlie Kirk was having an awesome conversation with them, trying to point out why they see things differently. Right in between them, just a nice little conversation, a little bit of a debate, but that is what Charlie Kirk did. Everybody wants to go and grab those clips, and twist them and make them into something that they're really not. Charlie Kirk has had far more civil debates and conversations to persuade people than anybody else in this country.
Yeah. One thing I looked up, after the shootings, I went, oh, he was on with Bill Maher. There's a perfect example of a person, but he sat down with Bill Maher, who is definitely very disagrees with him on many things. But he and Bill Maher had a nice conversation. Now, that's the one thing I will say about Bill Maher, too. Bill Maher is a lefty, but he also believes in free and open debate, and he believes that people should get down and talk to each other. But it was nice to watch him. I watched him on a show with Malice a few times. He and Malice got along. I don't really see any video. He's always he seems very disciplined, very, very level, not losing it, not getting really emotional, and just putting his arguments out there and not really using fiery words, just saying this is what I believe. Although he's kind of letting people make fools out of themselves more than he's making a fool out of them.
I agree.
And so it's really and of course, when somebody like this dies, it always raises that question. Well, gee, what would he have done if he'd had 20 more years? It's hard to say.
Oh, I can tell you, if he had 20 more years, we would be getting a lot more conservative views and even more libertarians involved in politics than we are on a trajectory for right now. We're going to be set back by this. We will be. Doesn't matter how much Turning Point turns around. We are going to be set back, and we're going to have to figure out how we touch that many more people to get them to understand and open their eyes to the government corruption.
Yeah, because he's really looking at some of the, I mean, I don't agree with him on everything, but he's taken a lot of the people that I consider villains too. And, and I've said it I've repeated this so many times. I was 18 years old when I saw the Berlin Wall fall down. I didn't expect to still be arguing with these people. I thought that was the end of socialism. And to his credit, Charlie is going out where the battle has to be fought. It's not at the ballot box. It's on the college campuses. And one thing is, maybe we'll get some Charlie Kirk clones out of this. But I don't know if any. Yeah, I don't know who out there would replace him. There's nobody really.
That's one thing I've been saying is you can't replace Charlie Kirk. Now, it is our responsibility. That is the other thing that I've been saying is we got to somehow fill his shoes. Excuse me. But I don't see how we can even do that. Those are huge shoes to fill. But overall, yeah, you're going to see some others come out of the woodworks with this. But the problem I have with it is I think that's where a lot of these conspiracies and all of the other garbage that's being spread on the internet is really going to affect that.
I didn't want to go down those rabbit holes because we don't necessarily know what was in his head.
Nope.
We don't know if somebody was, paid him off to do this. I mean,
correct.
It seems, we know Charlie's shot. We know a little boy and a little girl no longer have dad. Yep. And, hopefully the people who oppose socialism and the people who, Charlie was fighting a lot of the good fights. A lot of people just said, it sounds like he inspired people to just go out and do positive things. It's really,
yeah, he showed people that you can have a civil debate. Like there's multiple videos out there showing that people walked up, hit his hat off of his head, got in his face and stuff like this and prior until he really started beefing up his security a little bit.
Yeah.
That they could get really close to him and cause really conflict. And he did nothing other than tell his guys, hey, don't touch her. Hey, don't do that. Back off. Let them go. He never really wanted a physical confrontation. He only wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah. I don't really see, and Yeah, I guess I'm sorry I never saw him in action, and maybe I would have appreciated it more. But one thing we've probably got hundreds of hours of videos of him doing all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing we'll certainly, his kids may not have them, but they'll certainly have plenty of things that they can watch, and just,
Yep.
it's, and it's amazing too. He was really, I think, really committed to all this, and I've talked to a couple people who've said they really were just influenced by him, and people who made a difference. And one person who's been on my show several times said he lives around LA, and his 13-year-old girl wanted to go to the memorial in Phoenix, and I won't mention his name, but it was just so wild that he had impact and maybe even getting kids to read books. And
Those are good things.
I don't see him engaging in ad hominems or name calling. And I
There's
think
one video of him doing name calling and getting really riled up, and that's him arguing with Cenk from Young Turks.
Oh gosh.
Charlie got really upset on the stage yelling at him. But outside of that, you never see Charlie get that upset. It was that one situation.
One of the hard things is, I think a lot of people, and I make this mistake, but I see people do it with me more, is you can't really assume why somebody believes what they believe.
Nope.
And you can't really, and you, just because I know somebody's position on abortion, that doesn't mean I know what their position on gun rights is going to be.
Correct.
Or what, and so many people make these assumptions, and our arguments have gotten so sloppy and so lazy, and there's so many fallacies out there that it just doesn't. I really hope that Charlie, could have at least restored discussion. I think restoring discussion and conversation would have restore some kind of civil discourse. I don't know. I don't know who will take up the mantle, but and maybe it can make a difference, because it seems like so much of our politics is just like Jerry Springer. It's
no, it is. It's because in politics and government, we are being led down the path that you don't compromise anymore. It's you're right and you're wrong. It's always black and white, which is the furthest from the truth. Right? We have to understand that we can have a civil conversation and start to come to a common ground of where we agree and where we disagree. But the powers that be do not want that to happen.
There's a lot of people that don't want it to happen. And I do have to admit, I think some people on the left really are just absolute barbarians. I mean, and that's what I find a little bit troubling, is there's kind of an ugly side growing up on the right now, because they really, they want to punish somebody for this. And I don't, and when somebody says leftist terrorism is a national emergency, and I just thought, oh my God, he's using the words national emergency. That was
right.
First, just, I hope that maybe we can, but it's really, maybe in a way we might be better off because of this. It's as sad as it is. I don't know if but it's,
I think we're going to see some good things that come out of this.
Yeah.
We're already seeing it. A lot of TPUSA applications.
Oh yes, that's
gone
crazy.
through the roof. You're seeing just the number of people that are talking about Charlie. And for example, you said you really didn't know what he was about, what he was saying.
I didn't really know that his impact was that much. I mean, the reaction to this is something like the reaction, that happened when Kobe Bryant got killed, or Diana. It's almost on that level now. I'm just like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how many people loved him. It's
See, and those are good things. Is that gets his reach even further. And so, depending on where you fall within your faith and stuff like that with God, you could almost say that God was saying, hey, your work is actually done on the planet. Now let's see and show you how much of an impact you really had. And it goes crazy when you start thinking that way, because Charlie Kirk, there's a video out there. He was asked on how he would like to be remembered. and it was for his courage and strength for his faith. And he definitely led with that everywhere.
Yeah.
But where he started is going back to college campuses. Like where it started was the big government sucks. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
That was his like one of his first signs when he was 18, 19 years old, going to these campuses, trying to do this stuff.
And you know something else, Kaecey? I bet he was tempted many times out on the trail, and yet he never gave in to the temptation, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
He probably had some, maybe girls throwing their bras at him or something. He probably saying, "No, sorry, I'm married." If that ever happened,
yeah.
Kaecey, I do have one theory about this death, and I pointed out there. This certainly took all the attention away from Irina Zarutska. The girl who got killed in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
This took all the attention away from that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And
I don't. Yeah, and I sometimes said maybe that was the whole motivation here. They wanted to take the attention off this, But yeah,
well, I don't know what they would gain by doing that.
Yeah, I don't either. And I've got to say too, I thought the reaction to Jimmy Kimmel was just nuts. I watched what he said. He was basically commenting on Trump's apathetic, who cares reaction to the whole thing. I mean,
sure.
Trump just showed you that. Trump just reminded me of what he was. He gives a eulogy and makes it about himself, and he just doesn't seem to care. Oh, one of my useful idiots got killed. Oh yeah. Well, they did.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of how Trump handled it.
You never make a eulogy about yourself. It's about the person who died.
Yeah, when he mentioned that he's gonna have a big autism announcement the next day, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Shut up. Go back to talking about Charlie. We don't need to be talking about what you're gonna announce tomorrow. That doesn't need to be talked about.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not if this had happened to Charlie Kirk when he was 90, we wouldn't have reacted the same way. It always has an impact when somebody who has kids are still kids. I mean, the people
when they still have a huge future, right? Like you already mentioned it as what would it be like if this didn't happen, or because he would have a tenfold impact on the 2028 election at the momentum he was carrying right now.
Yeah.
And
I hope he has an impact on academia. That's what I'm really hoping.
In what way?
Getting these socialists out of the colleges and maybe turning them back into something that's pro-American and pro-Western.
I agree with that. The main thing that I see there is it just depends on college, because part of Charlie did mention a few times and talked about it that you don't have to go to college. Yeah. And so that's where I was wondering what direction you were going to go with this.
But this is still where most of our lawyers go to college. All of our lawyers go to college.
Correct.
All of our judges go to college. All of our doctors go to colleges. Go to college. Most of our business leaders go to college.
Yep.
If this is not, the long march through the institutions, changing the colleges, fixing the colleges. Yeah, we'd probably be better off if less people went to college. But as long as we have all these, especially, and of course, not to mention the school teachers, they all go to college.
Yeah, that can have some of an impact. The part that I was saying is, though, the only way you make a change, we live in a capitalistic country, right? And so the only way you make your change is you take financial change and move it somewhere else. Some of that is you stop enrolling kids into college to where then at that point you can affect them to where they want to pivot and do something different. And so if you try to go in and change the colleges within the culture for just the kids that are going to school, you'll fail, because it's all done by the leadership. The leadership of that school sets that precedent.
Oh, yeah.
But you can change the colleges and universities if you have enrollment going down.
That's true. Yeah. And they'll have to lay off some professors. Well, I think we've covered just about everything here, Kaecey. Do you have anything else to say before we go?
No, man, it was a good conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. We should talk about more other things sometimes. Please like the video. Where can we find you out there?
You can find me on my handle on X, which is at American VS Gov. So American versus government is what that is standing for.
Yes.
Follow me on X.
Yeah. Please like the show, subscribe to the channel, go to buy me a coffee and give me money there. Check out my novel, Escape from the Village. Check out my Substack as well. Thank you, Kaecey Rasmussen. I'm Chris Baker. We're out. Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.